welcome to Signals and Symptoms podcast, live with our, permanent guest Harvey Castro, and of course me, your host. And I'm so excited to see Sally Ann Frank, who is actually the Microsoft startup head for driving healthcare innovation. She has written two amazing books. We're going to talk about her journey and then go from there. And she's going to introduce herself and books, everything. So let's start with this week's updates. The two amazing papers that were discussed is the value of doubt, training LLMs to consider diagnostic uncertainty and may improve clinical utility. As a matter of fact, I personally did a project with UTD students in which we discussed both the difference between confidence and uncertainty, and how do you remove the confidence score to uncertainty score. There's a whole science behind it. But at the end of the day, we are realizing that we need to teach LLMs I don't know. And that is so important. And the way they answer I don't know is also important and from a user experience. Interesting read. Make sure you guys read this and understand that how we can improve patient outcomes and more importantly, guide physicians to use it better. Um, um, then towards integrated sleep health, multimodal AI enhancement agent. This is again coming from China, which is interesting that we are seeing a lot of innovation from there. This is again how to integrate sleep health. And this is a very hard problem because you have to understand that the way that the sleep data comes and this sort of ring data, and by the way, Harvey, our co-host, is very keen towards actually using these kind of for his personal health, but so important to do this. So this is very important read as well if you guys are want to read something. Claude Anthropic introduced Claude Opus 4.6. I don't know, Harvey, if you had the chance to use it, but I am thoroughly impressed, especially that they can actually create what they are recommending, knowledge work, and I can attest myself that the knowledge work improvement has significantly in my uh, private experience, building documents, etc., has significantly improved. Agentic search has improved for sure. I haven't tested coding on this one because it's just too expensive to code on this. I'm actually using some different models for that. And definitely reasoning has also improved as well. And using it inside Claude Code is just insane. So my productivity from last week to this week is even increased. Not to mention my productivity starting this year is 30x. And I monitor that, by the way, that how much I produce per day. OpenAI did not sit straight. They actually introduced GPT 5.3 codex. Again, fascinating application. They actually released an app with it. But again, I still feel like it is unusable to me. It's just too damn slow. And that's interesting that they already made a deal with Cerebrus, which is going to be an inference protocol. So we're going to see these OpenAI speeds improve significantly. The future of global open source AI ecosystem. Harvey, we have talked about this before, that how open source AI ecosystem is extremely important, and DeepSeek is leading the way with Hugging Face. Meta is, to be honest with you, hopefully they're going to send some after this version 4. Llama version 5 would be better. But Quinn is actually from Alibaba. Again, I don't trust either DeepSeek and Quinn. We do not use this in production. Again, this is healthcare PHI. We don't want to share any information outside the country, but we do use some of these models which are US hosted for research purposes. And I would recommend still to do so. But long story short, you're going to see that we are seeing this significant open source AI ecosystem, and then how it is going to change the funding market, the AI startup market, and Sally and Harvey are going to continue with that conversation. We're seeing consistent acquisitions going on. We're seeing that ERP and all of these are going. So we see a lot of improvement. Me and Harvey are going to record this separately and then send it to you because this is very important that how ARK Invest does this research. We pull up the actual research and everything. So this is such a big thing that it cannot, comprehend in a post. And this is another very important read, adoption and use of large language model and an academic center. And this is actually Stanford. We actually had Peter come in. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting the name, that actually is teaching physicians how to use LLM at Stanford. And important read, you need to understand how the FIRE works, LLM routing works. Interesting, very good to see all in one. Now, I'm going to set this sort of the stage before I move it over to Sally and the whole discussion. We are seeing health tech in inflection point. We have seen significant amount of funding going on. We're capturing the market. Annual revenue growth is going up. rule of things. We are seeing that the CAGR is going to be 14.4%. By the way, don't believe the pitch decks, because everyone says the CAGR is 60%. It's not. It's just annoying when you see pitch decks like that. But anyways, what I'm saying is that we are seeing a true, operational ROI proven. So this is no longer a pipe dream. This is where we see this. More importantly, we are seeing FDA completely revamp their process for approval. I mean, I'm glad that I'm actually not in the LLM business only. I'm actually Vision, and I have FDA approved products that are going to remain to be FDA approved products and going to be creating a moat for my company. Insanely important. However, making new clinical decision support systems has gone. They're going to ask for real world evidence to get FDA approval. So that's why, you're going to see some announcement coming in the future to actually become, a chief AI officer of a medical institute, because now I have a route to do FDA, not just by, following the traditional pathway, but showing real world evidence and going into it. Again, I want to come back to Sally. She has these two amazing books, the Startup Protocol and the Unicorn Protocol. So I'm just gonna buy with one click and then read it. Unfortunately, because of some health issues, I wasn't able to read beforehand. So I apologize, Sally. I'm normally more prepared. So Harvey, actually, Sally, why don't you introduce yourself, and then we can start the conversation.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, and thank you for that great introduction. I mean, I love the kind of the run through of those big items and how it affects everything that we're doing across the ecosystem. So it's always good to get those updates. Thank you for sharing those. So I am Sally Ann Frank. I'm the global lead for health and life sciences at Microsoft for startups. So what that means is that I spend my days helping early stage companies grow and scale using our tech and leveraging our customer network for go-to-market opportunities, bringing them to like HIMSS and health, and then also connecting them directly with customers using our account teams and a variety of other go-to-market activities, which I think is the surprising side. Everyone expects the technical enablement, but it's the go-to-market that really is valuable for our startups in addition to the technology that we can offer. I've been in this role for a little bit more than 5 years. Prior to this role, I was doing IoT in healthcare, so a lot with remote patient monitoring, cold chain tracking, connected factory, connected product, all that stuff. I've been at Microsoft a little more than 10 years. Prior to that, I was with a Microsoft partner for 16 years and kind of went on that journey from really small company to a mid-sized company where you were really trying to get the attention of Microsoft, and I understand what it's like to do that. So and that's probably the most relevant parts of my background.
I wanted to
Amazing
add
journey.
something
Go ahead.
that you're not going to find in her LinkedIn or her profile, and that is the human aspect. I had the honor of meeting Sally in Dubai in October, and I have to say I was a stranger, and she treated me like family. And more importantly, her passion for what we're doing in AI and healthcare is sincere, and you won't find that out there. But I want to say firsthand that
Thank you.
that's the person right there.
I love the work that I do. It's impactful, it's fulfilling, and I absolutely adore it. I get up every day just happy to greet the day and happy to sit down and get to work.
Awesome.
So
And I'll add
I
it's that passion
go
that you
ahead.
have that made those books. And I know we're going to jump into your
Sure.
formula, but go ahead, Janae.
So number one, Sally, as our discussion privately a little bit over LinkedIn, that we are going to feature all your AI startups. Me and Harvey are going to do 20 minutes recorded, give them feedback and everything, or maybe just they show off the demo. They will
Great.
get the recording, and then they will decide if they want to publish it with us or not. So this way,
Super.
we want to make sure that, Harvey's experience is insane. He is like, he has helped me so much. So did Ed, and of course we help each other now as we grow along.
Yes.
So for everyone to understand that we love Sally, we love her passion and vision, and then we're going to help her to make sure that whoever she does, and hopefully she's going to take Save Life AI to the next level as well. But what I'm saying is that it is important that we make healthcare AI accessible, cheaper, and make it save lives and limbs. And therefore, we are all in the same mission as well. So I just want to make sure that we are going to formalize this process in the next month and then add whatever Sally asks, on multiple other startups that, to be honest with you, Harvey, hey, review this pitch deck, and do you want to talk to this founder, because he's a magnet, and so do I. But at the
Understand.
point, so we wanted to make sure that, and then sometimes find synergies. Hey, you don't need to build this. This startup is building it. Why don't you
Right.
just use them? So this
Yes.
way we can actually create an ecosystem. Just one thing, one bias, Sally. I just want to be very sure. We are Texans and we love Dallas. But that is not something that, of course, we can. But with the idea is that one of the mandates that we want to see is that we want to bring an ecosystem within the Texas, Dallas, Austin corridor, as a personal bias, and we are very honest about our biases and transparencies and everything. Harvey, take it away.
All right, Sally. Well, there's so much to cover, and I know you have things that you want to share. But as a founder, I've started over 40 companies, and a lot of those have mistakes in them. One of the biggest things that really attracted me to what you're saying is I'd love for you to kind of share with others out there, what is your startup protocol? Kind of give us the 10,000 feet high. How does that help us?
So one of the things, and this comes from kind of having similar conversations over and over and over again with founders. And that was really the impetus for the first book, is that there were the same questions that everyone was asking. And so I put together this framework where, what you need to think about at the ideate stage, what you need to think about when you're building, what to think about when you are launching, and then as you go to scale. And one of the things that often happens, particularly with first-time founders, is that they invest all their time in the product, or they invest all their time in the go-to-market strategy, or they invest all their time in understanding the regulatory pathways, which all of that is important. But there has to be a measure of equalness across all of that. I always talk about the fact that your product development roadmap, your go-to-market roadmap, and your regulatory roadmap should all be threaded together in a way that you are working on them simultaneously. Because if you over pivot in one area, you will be caught flat-footed. So let's say you develop a really great product, but you've done no customer discovery. You've not done any of the early go-to-market work. Well, you go to launch and nobody wants it. Like, you haven't really confirmed that people are going to pay you to solve that problem. And so throughout the book, at each stage, we talk about those critical things that you need to accomplish so that you can go to the next stage and then be successful there. It's not a guarantee, but it's designed to provide you a framework where you're not making the same mistakes everyone else has, but you make the really big mistakes that you'll learn from.
Yeah, I love it. As a physician, I know I guard my guidelines really carefully, and when they're updated, I look at them very, very carefully. And it's exactly what I'm hearing from you is, how can I be successful? And it may not guarantee it, but at least it's taking advantage of all the mistakes of other people have made and giving me the blueprints to say, hey, this is how you go forward. So I love that.
Yeah,
One of my
and
favorite phrases. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, part of the book was to provide examples. So it's not theoretical. It's well, the whole book is rather strategic in its content and what it will provide. There's very tactical, kind of common sense advice, like what a value proposition looks like. When you're thinking about your offers, what should they look like? When you're picking your cloud platform, and I work for Microsoft, and I try to be as magnanimous as possible and say, look, there are going to be different reasons why you go with one cloud vendor versus another. If you're in the consumer space, then maybe Amazon is a good place for you. If you're in an enterprise, then maybe it's Microsoft. But I really wanted to give people actionable questions to ask themselves and to put into practice things that I've learned that I can pass on.
Well, I love it. I ordered my book this morning as well. So actually books. I can't wait to get them because I'm a hard copy person. I like reading and
Me
holding.
too.
The other thing is that you just mentioned. My favorite phrase is "let's work backwards." And to me, this is what you're doing. I'm glad that Janae just pulled up the protocol so everybody could see it. And I know we just lost their video feed, but I think we can still hear you. Okay, there, it's coming back. There, you're back.
Yes.
All I said was my favorite phrase is working backwards, and I love that this protocol is basically, here's the end product, here's what I want to do, but how do I get there? Let's work backwards. And it's kind of showing it. And I really love what you said. It's I make that mistake myself. I'll hyper focus in one area and then I'm like, okay, let me focus on this, when in reality it should be all of them moving forward. So that's great insight. Janae?
So so I started as an investor, and we actually went through a lot of pitch decks, and I invested in a lot of companies. And then I started Save Life AI, because if you want to save a life, it is as if you save a life of mankind. Because I realized that digital transformation is going to be changed, right? We were in the from paper chart to EHR chart, we call it digital transformation, and now we are from EHR chart to AI chart, and we call it AI transformation. Now, your framework is so spot on, because one of the things that, as an investor, as an Asian investor, the one thing I wanted to ask was that, do you have a holistic ideation policy that actually joins all the five, problems, right? Team, scalability, all of that, from initial pre-seed round to seed round and all of that. And that's why, I started the company, because nobody understood the grand vision, because sometimes grand visions are harder to fund, because it's easy for understand small niche problems, but this is where we are at. So question number one for you is that within the last 3 months, things have changed dramatically. 2025 was where agentic AI was introduced. Now agentic AI is in the workplace. I mean, we are looking at me as a productivity consultant. I just showed you using Opus and knowledge work, and everything is going away. How do you see the market shift? Is it going to be helpful, or is it going to be hurtful? Are there going to be only big winners? How the startups need to restructure using your framework in the age of agentic AI?
So, I'm a firm believer that the gap that we have in care providers and people who need care is only going to be solved through technology. And so when we look at agents, and we look at just the last few years and this rapid change in how we're applying AI, the thing that is, I think, most important, besides making sure it's safe and ethical and all of that, is to ensure that you are designing for the end user. Sometimes that's a patient, sometimes that's a clinician or a staff member. And we have moved from kind of this skeptical perspective, is it going to work? Is it going to work? To, yes, we know it works. And now you have to make it provide value. And so one of the things that we are really focused on with our startups is making sure that not only can you talk about the value, but it's documented, that you can look at previous customers, previous implementations, and walk away, whether it's agentic or just an AI solution, and say, we saved them 15 hours, or we saved them a variety of other metrics. We usually talk in terms of hours, money saved, whatever. If we can find revenue generators, that would be really great too. But the idea here is that we've got to get past this we're testing it out phase, because we're done. Like, that's over. We know it can work. We know it can be used safely. We know it can be used ethically. We know it can tear down access problems. We know it can be, that we can put in controls to make sure that there's no bias, or the bias is minimized. There's no scope creep or model creep and all of that. So I really think it comes down to, again, staying connected with your end customer from day one, and making sure that their perspective is built into the product, so that when the product is launched, not only do they want to use it, but they know how to use it, and they know the value they're going to get.
Love it.
Does that answer
Harvey,
your
your
question?
comments, that does, and that is beautifully put. And I want everyone to hear that from the master of healthcare AI
No.
startups at Microsoft, that it is important that the validation is there now. Just show the ROI. That's beautifully said. Harvey, take her framework. We have been discussing about that, hey, FDA is basically de-governed, the FDAs, right? I mean, AI regulation is changing because it's just so hard to keep up, and FDA recognize it and beautifully said, we can't do it. AI governance needs to be part and parcel of the client, the institute, and everything. And we have talked about it, right, together, that we're going to probably work on a separate startup and then go from there. Now, if you were to go through using Sally's framework, ideate, build, launch, and grow, 4 stages, and you know how much ideation we are doing, just let the audience know that why ideation that she said is so important. And we have been discussing this for 3 months already, and then we're
Yeah.
going to discuss this for another 9 months before we even think about building and anything. So I just want you to concentrate on ideation part, using the governance sort of your strategy. I mean, don't give out all the IP, of course. But what I'm saying is that explain to the people with Sally that ideation is now so important.
Yeah, I guess it's a continuum, like she said. It's all of those stages coming out, and as you're ideating, already start thinking of the other stages, because that might change things a little bit. For example, it takes a village, right? It takes a physician, it takes a patient to work AI in healthcare. But if we leave out the patient and we come up with a solution that may be great for the quote unquote doctor, and the patient is like, wait, this isn't something I want. So going back to her point, if we're ideating and looking at, okay, this has to pass regulation and this has to do X, Y, and Z, the funding is a huge one, as we all know. If there's no CPT code for it, can we still make it forward without that CPT code or not? So then that goes back to the ideation. Okay, you know what? Here's that secret sauce or that unicorn startup angle. And I do want to go into that.
Yeah, I think one of the other things that's really important that I call out in the book is that if you are building for a doctor, a nurse, a clinician, a staff member, a scientist, a patient, then build your set of what I call proxy customers. These are people that agree that you're building something of value and want to be along for the journey and will give you feedback along the journey. So they're not customers yet because you have nothing to sell, but they are the archetypes of the people that you want to use your product. And so you contact them, and LinkedIn is a great place to do this. You contact them because who would say no to, hey, I'm building something, I'd really love to use your expertise. Like, very few people are going to say no to that. So the idea is really to start building a network of people around you who believe in the mission and who will give you that hard feedback early and often and throughout the process.
I love that. It's kind of like that friend that tells you, hey, dude, you got something on your teeth, and you're like, oh, thanks. You care about me. It's the same thing. It's a silly analogy, but it's true.
Like true.
If you're in love with your product and you don't have somebody to tell you, hey, dude, that's a horrible idea, and this is why, and let you go along and spend all this money and time, and then later say, oh yeah, I knew that, but I just didn't want to tell you. You're like, whoa, tell me. So I love what you just said.
You see this financial table? Yeah, there's a green piece of spinach in between cell 2 and 4.
Yes.
Love that analogy.
That's great.
And that's a commitment for us, because we truly believe, Harvey and me, and he is actually at Phantom Space, by the way. He's going to launch AI in space, by the way. I don't know if you knew about that, Sally.
Yeah.
So we truly believe in the mission, and that's one of the things that we want to do is, again, we want to bring these startups together as well, bring an ecosystem, especially here in Texas, to ensure that there is no redundancy, deduplication, and everyone actually benefits from the rise of this technology. We discussed last time, and Harvey was in concert with it, that there's only 5 years to make money in AI. So Harvey, why don't you expand on that context while Sally is here and her great experience of 10 years of experience? Are we thinking the wrong thing? Now, this is the true example I want to show you. How I am using Sally right now to understand my assumption, if I'm wrong or right, in front of you. Clearly. Yeah. Okay. So this is what you have to do when you reach out to LinkedIn, is literally, am I blind or not? So what blinders I have. So go ahead, Harvey.
So Sally, so the theory is as follows. Back in the day, 2-3 years ago, there were some startups that would put wrappers on ChatGPT and sell a consumer product to people. And people were like, oh my gosh, it's the best. You can't do that today, because people know, why would I pay you when I can just get a $20 subscription to do the same thing? Right. Fast forward 3-5 years, it'll get to a point where we open up our computer and all these SaaS products that I probably have subscriptions, I don't. I just talk to my computer and it says, hey, so what's going to happen is a big disruption. And so big picture, the entry to market will be harder. The technology that we need to use will be higher, and it needs to make sure it's competitive. So as a result, it's going to be even tougher to get into those startups. Not to say that there won't be any, there'll be, it'll just be that much harder. So in general picture, I truly believe now is the time. I'm telling my 22-year-old son, I need you to start a business now, and this is why. And he's actually going forth with it.
Great.
So
great.
let me give you another aspect to it. I'm
Yes.
using AI agents. My user experience is changing on a daily basis. Like, we experiment insanely fast. We had to build integrations that are building in 3 days as compared to 3 months.
Right.
So me as a startup, now I'm encroaching on things that I was not even thought about. This was out of scope. This was out of scope because startup is all about focus. But no matter, I can say yes to customers so fast. What's going to happen to another Junaid or a 20-year-old who's a neurocritical care physician and then wants to do a startup? What do you see the future like?
Yeah, I think you both bring up really excellent points. And the thing that I think about is that we talk about AI and we talk about agents, and in 3 to 5 years, it'll just be stuff we do. Like, we won't talk about AI. We won't talk about agents. We'll talk about how you got something done faster, or how, this was super easy to do, or how to take a really complex problem and break it down into parts that are easily solved. I think about the fact that, 2 years ago, when we were doing, large language models and things were just beginning to kind of percolate, there were companies coming up with these really fine niches. I remember one that had an algorithm, a generative AI tool that basically took formulas for drugs and would repurpose them and like reconfigure them. So if you can, H2O is 2 hydrogen, 1 oxygen. If you mixed it up, could you come up with something different? And at the same time, I thought 2 things. 1, this is really cool. And 2, he's going to be overtaken in 2 months. Like, it's these functions that seem like a really good idea for a company, but what in fact they are is not a company, but they're a capability. And that capability is going to be part of a much larger approach to solving, in this case, drug discovery. So it really, when I think about what's going to happen in 5 years from now, in the startup space, we'll still be innovating, but it'll be very different, because you can't just carve out this little tiny niche, because it won't exist anymore.
So beautifully said. Love it. So the companies of the future will be not carving out small niches. It will be more places in which you would actually be able to provide real value not just in a horizontal solution, take a drug molecule, fix it, make a new drug, but rather a whole vertical solution in which you go from drug molecule to clinical trial design to clinical trial optimization to FDA and all of that. So we so beautifully said. We are actually transitioning of ourselves because of your insights that you share on the LinkedIn. By the way, I'm an avid reader. If nobody's following Sally, you should. She provides amazing, beautiful insights with examples. So I love it. So we actually going from horizontal to vertical solutions as well in our company as well. Just FYI, you go ahead. Sorry, Sally, I cut you off.
Yeah, I was just going to add I think one of the other areas that is always going to evolve and provide growth. We have a lot of startups and other organizations that are really trying to work on the governance side, trying to work on improving the veracity of these models, trying to improve the lack, or trying to diminish bias and improve safety and all of that. I think that's always going to be there, because the technology will continue to evolve. And because of that, those guardrails will have to always evolve as well.
Harvey, she's back into guardrails and governance, your territory, buddy.
Well, Sally, you're gonna get a kick out of this. Number one, I do
Yes,
want to say I'm looking at all the followers, and I want to thank everybody out there on LinkedIn. Keep putting your comments, ask your questions. I'll bring them up if I can pivot them into there. And I do want
great.
to just a little chuckle. In 22, as a doctor, I said, "Oh my God, this thing called ChatGPT, it's going to change the world. Let me write a book on ChatGPT, and it's ChatGPT Healthcare." And I'm not promoting the book; I'm just sharing. But the idea is, back then, I was like, "Let me start buying all these domains." One of them I bought was ChatGPTHealth.com, which ironically, that's AI's OpenAI's point. But the reason I mention it is to transition into governance. I have taken that website not as something for ChatGPT Health, but more of a governance of AI in healthcare, because I see all the major models trying to go there. But let's do it right, because the stakes are too high, and if we get this wrong, there's too many things that can happen. So that's basically that website.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, and then I want to talk to you. I know you mentioned another quickly. I wanted to talk to you and see if you could chat about the unicorn standard that you talk about in your book. I love that. It like blew my mind when you said it, and I kind of wanted you to see if you could just expand a little bit on it.
The
The
unicorn.
unicorns, the unicorn.
The
You
book?
mentioned unicorns. Yeah, in the book, Unicorn Founders versus
Yeah,
the standard founders out there.
yeah.
So I
So
just want to show this for 1 second,
yeah,
that
sure.
this is really good read, amazing work by Harvey. We are again working through this problem to ensure not just being able to ideate it, but to implement it. Again, it's a perfect example of how Sally wrote the book, The Startup Protocol. And now, of course, going to the next book, which is the Unicorn Protocol, which I'm very interested. So how do I become from a startup to unicorn?
Well, so, and that was exactly the point. When I finished the manuscript for the startup protocol, I'm like, well, this was maybe helpful, but there's more. And so the unicorn protocol is really designed, if the startup protocol is designed for early stage founders, like at the ideate stage and MVP or prototyping, this one is for people who are a little bit further along, so that they can understand those kind of seminal moments when unicorn founders really had to make hard decisions. And so the idea is that these 10 now unicorn companies that are, kind of household names in the industry, Amwell, Athena Health, Innovaccer, Omada Health. What were their journeys, and what can we learn from them? What can we learn from those that went before you? And I thought it would be really interesting, but it's become even more interesting because as each story unfolded, and they are stories, and there are the founder's voice. I recorded them, transcribe them. And here's one of those examples where I thought, oh, I'll just put the transcript in, and Copilot will ChatGPT, it'll just write the chapter for me. No, definitely did not. I used it for some of the summaries that you can see in the book, but I literally went through painstakingly with each video and paragraph by paragraph. But the point is that several of them came up with really interesting business models. Several of them pivoted in a way that they didn't expect. Like Athena Health, Jonathan Bush was building maternity clinics, and he had to build an EMR for the maternity clinic. And that was like, well, maybe the money's over here and we're having a hard time over there. So, that kind of thing. The folks from Lunit had developed a solution for retail, except they had not done a lot of customer discovery. So when they brought it to retail, it was computer vision. When they brought it to retail, they're like, we don't want this. And so they were at dinner one night lamenting with their friends who just happened to be in medical school about what was going on. Like, well, how good is that computer vision thing that you put together? Well, it's really good. Could we use it for radiology? Boom, there you go. So it's just really interesting stories, and even to the point where I'm hoping people see themselves and go, oh, I struggled with that, or that's a problem I didn't think about, and now I need to consider how I'm going to handle that. Everything from like Molly He from Elemental Biosciences, their first, she wanted to be a good steward of the first money that they got. So she got this really rinky-dink basement office space, but it had no Wi-Fi connectivity because the walls were too thick. So they had to come up with something else. So it's just like, do you even think about that anymore? You go in and you assume if you get office space, it's going to be easy, So some of them are kind of mundane, and some of them are really, really like existential questions that you need to ask. And by learning how these other people dealt with the pandemic, how they dealt with staffing, Abhinav Shashank from Innovator, he talks about the fact that he doesn't hire for what he needs today. He hires people that he thinks he's going to need in 2 years. That's brilliant. Like that should be in a plaque in every manager's office. Like, it's perfect. It's that kind of thing and those kind of lessons that you can only get from people who have been there and have the bruises and scars.
Yeah.
So
My
true.
my
And that's what
ADHD
Harvey
brain.
actually. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to add my ADHD brain just went to another field just for fun. Just I'm going to plant the seed since you have all that video. I would get permission from everybody and ask if it's okay with them, but then add an AI to emotional intelligence on those interviews and extract different scores of what they were saying, doing, if they were really passionate about their project, if they were really convicted on some of the things, and then not rewrite the book, obviously, but extract some of that data. And I bet there's some commonality among all of them on certain things. It'd be kind of interesting. Just FYI, I was just
Yeah, it
thinking
is
about it. It's
interesting.
kind of fun.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I like
Janae.
that.
So
gonna say?
Harvey always says, in a gold rush, don't go for the gold, but sell pitches and shovels. So that's one. So good,
Yes.
one of the things that you have to understand, and why we are concentrating on governance part, because FDA has relinquished some responsibility, and we'll be selling pitches, shovels in a gold rush. That's important to understand. That's what exactly she's telling, that he was concentrating on a problem, which is gold, but understood that if you have shovels, that's going to make more money. Understanding this is where these amazing masters come in, like Sally and Harvey, that lets you go through. I had to adjust some of my strategies given the feedback that I got from it. Number two, that she properly understood is the same thing, that founder stories are important education material. So there's one thing that she said, that you have to get feedback about, from experts and how it's going to implement and everything. But always remembering that this has a road that is less traveled. It is an unknowing, awful road to be on. I'm telling you from personal experience, and you can talk to Harvey. But it is rewarding, and it will come to fruition at some point in time. May not be your first startup, may not be your second startup, but believe me, you will get through this process, and it is important to understand. And the challenges are becoming less so, as she properly pointed out, as the knowledge is with an AI is becoming democratized and demonetized. Harvey, back to you.
Yeah, well said. And just to transition a little bit more, one of the things that all startups want is, obviously, if you can scale the business and you can make more profit, then you may be more survivable. And I'd love to get your insight on, what are your framework for the pillars for scaling?
For scaling. So I'm going to go back to those proxy customers that we talked about. One of the easiest things you can do, if you've actually built that network of people around you who believe in your mission and what you're trying to build, they should be your first customers. So they should be the early adopters, and they should be part of that initial feedback on how you deploy, how you support, like all of the things that come with being a successful, ongoing, sustainable business that has nothing to do with how creative you are and how innovative you are. Those are the brick and mortar, not to use an old phrase, but those are like the foundational elements that you probably haven't tested yet. So you need to bring those folks in, have them start to use it, give you feedback on all of those kind of standard business operations, because you've got to get that down. If you have a great mousetrap and nobody uses it, nobody cares. So that's number one. Number two is documenting early wins carefully and thoroughly. Why? Because that's going to be the marketing material of the future. So making sure that those early wins, if they are successful, that you get video testimonials, that you build case studies, and all of this stuff is available and open to your prospective customers. The other thing that I encourage when it's feasible is to do some kind of interactive way to get people to understand what you do. So sometimes it's like an ROI calculator, or sometimes it's a brief demo online that they can self-service. If they can put in like their own data that gets anonymized, or they make it up, whatever, and then you can show them what happens, super, super powerful. I'll give you another example. So Lunit, out of South Korea, in the Unicorn book, they actually early on put their model on the web and said, you can upload an image, we will anonymize it and immediately give you the reading. And you were limited to like 3 images or 4 images, whatever. But it was that visceral response that people got, like, wow, I got that in 3 seconds. That's super cool. I understand how this works. I'm going to go contact these because I'm going to hit that contact us for more button, that type of thing. And I think the next part of that, or the next step in that, is making it easy to buy. I think one of the things that people struggle with is, what are my offers? What is the wedge offer? What is that initial offer? And maybe it's some kind of freemium model like the Lunit was. What's that introductory offer where somebody can try the solution for 90 days for basically little cost, but they still have to pay? And I've got something about free I'm going to mention in a minute. And then what does it look like to do a full implementation? And one of the things that I see frequently is a pilot goes well, and then they don't know what to do next. Like, how do we go from pilot to full implementation? It's incredibly important to plan and have ready what that full implementation is going to look like the moment you kick off the pilot. Because the other thing that happens, and this is something I've said before, is there's this law of diminishing interest. If you have a successful pilot and you're waiting a week, a month, 2 months before you can get up and running in a full implementation, you're going to lose them. So the minute the pilot is over, you need to say, and here we go, we can just turn this small implementation into the larger implementation. Here are the steps. Here's how you can pay us. And here's the resources that we're going to need from your team as well as our team. Have that all mapped out. I want to go back to the free thing. Never do a free pilot. Never, ever, ever do a free pilot. Never do a free POC if you can help it. But never do a free pilot, because when you do something free, your end customer perceives no value. They've not put skin in the game. And so from my own background and from some of the things that we're doing, we encourage, everyone putting skin in the game, because then everyone's incentivized to work together. Does that help?
So true. Actually,
Oh my gosh, so good.
you
Good
are,
stuff.
oh
Thank
my
you.
God. Yeah. So number one, interactive ROI calculators. Number two, ability to show off quickly, easily, and fast. Number three, make sure that it's easy to buy. Number four, always do pilots, but make sure that the pilot is monetized as well, so that they understand the value rather than just trying it out. Otherwise, they will not even try it out. I'm just telling you, they will. The pilot itself gets unsuccessful because they, oh, well, it's a free product. Why should I even take time to check it? So now the minute they say, okay, I spent $1, that $1 changes their complete mindset of how they're going to test it. So just to add
And
value to you.
yeah, and the other thing that's important is that if part of that pilot to full-blown production implementation has to be making your champion look good. Like, if you've got results from your pilot that are positive and are going to turn this into a full production win, you need to help that champion sell it internally as well, because we're looking at large organizations and it's not just one group or one department or one. So think in terms of how I can succeed, but more importantly, how can I make my champion succeed, look good, and help them both personally and professionally within the organization.
That's exactly more so
That's really
important. I'm
good.
going to reiterate that case studies and beautiful dashboards. This was the usage. This was the time saved. This was this. Here's your ROI. Even if one client uses it, you can just say that they went from seeing 30 patients to 40 patients or whatever the case may be, and then explode on freaking LinkedIn, man, because everyone's going to come pouring in money for you. And by the way, some of these studies are coming out of Save Life AI, including video testimonials and everything. So she is right on track. And again, that was something Harvey taught me. So again, thank you, Harvey. The table is
Yeah.
yours again.
Just this is a question I get asked all the time. In the workflow of healthcare, AI is coming in. How are you telling startups, hey, this is how we can integrate better into the workflow? Because as you know, if the healthcare system is saying this is too much out of my workflow, they're not going to do it.
Right.
So I'm just curious, what are your thoughts on that? How to fix that?
So going back to the ideate stage, you need to think about and build a workflow of your solution as it integrates with the systems they're already using, whether it's billing systems or electronic medical records, whatever it may be. I have found that if you do a pilot outside of not a pilot, I'm sorry, if you do a proof of concept, that can be free, by the way. But if you do a proof of concept where you are asking nurses, doctors, or whatever, scientists to go outside their usual systems, they will tolerate that for a short amount of time to prove that it works, for them. But the moment they do, they're going to want it integrated into the systems that they're already using. So have that already mapped out, even if it's not executed on yet, because I understand, and most of us do understand, that the integration part can be very difficult, can be time consuming, can be costly. And so you don't want to spend the time doing the integration if it's not going to prove the value. So do the POCs outside. I think people will tolerate that for a short time, because look, you're going to do it for a week, maybe something like that. It's not going to be a long time, but they'll tolerate that to show that it works. And then if they really want it, it's got to turn into, yes, now you can go to the tab in Epic and it's right there and you'll be able to use it.
Love it. I know we are running down to like the last 13 minutes. I want to make sure we cover everything that you want to share with us. I know we don't have a lot of time, but I really would love to see if there's any other things you're like, oh my gosh, Harvey, XYZ, or I want to tell the world X. Please share whatever those things are.
Oh my
if
gosh.
There's something. Not to put you on the spot, because I know sometimes I come with an agenda with certain things. I was like, oh my God, no matter what, I need to say X. And so whatever it is, I wanted to make sure I gave you time to cover it.
Yeah, I think one of the things that is unique about this industry, and I think it probably is the same in the education industry, but that there is a desire to work together and there is a desire to learn from one another. And so one of the things that is important, if you are a founder and you're trying to build something, do not be shy. If you know that there are people out there that you think, let's say you were doing something in space and you're like, oh, if I could only get to Harvey, it's like, well, then ask. Like, if you don't ask, you don't get. So I think the surrounding the right people around you and being bold enough, not arrogant, that's something different, but being bold enough to get out there and put yourself out in front of people that you think can really make a difference is really important. The flip side of that, of course, is to be coachable. And I have experienced founders who are extremely coachable, who will not necessarily take their eye off the mission, but will be open to listening to feedback that will help maybe refine or provide additional direction or provide additional thoughts around additional use cases or customer segments. I've also been around those that are completely uncoachable. And when I tell you, if you meet a founder who's been working on something for 25 years and hasn't successfully commercialized, it's because they're not coachable, because they know it all.
So I'm just going to be giving you I am going to tell you my story very clearly and carefully. Number one, bold versus arrogant. I was the director of neuro ICU, director of stroke. I was the shit. And I realized that I am nobody when it comes to startups. And that was a very humbling impact on, especially coming from a physician where, when you round in the freaking ICU, there are 14 people that are following you, and then
Yes.
your brain is somewhere else and your head is somewhere else. And then you need to be humble to learning. And that is very important. Number two, coachability. Just to remind you again that before I started this up, I had another mentor, Ganesh, and I actually had to go through the whole process from, like she said, ideation to this and all of that. And I said that, this is going to be the goal. And then they just shot it down repeatedly. It hurt because I spent 3 months doing it. If I had not done that, and after I had launched that AI, that sort of company for that pain point today, I would be broke. I
Yeah.
mean, so it is, I actually had to, just to get the PMF, product market fit, which is basically the big headline that she's talking about, is that is so important. And I had to change my whole trajectory. And that is what good founders do. Investors get a little nervous and say, well, you said this. Well, what is your goal? To make money. I'm going to make you money. Here's the problem. Here's the solution. The trajectory is going to change. And that is okay. Investors should not get nervous about it too, because that is the core problem that they have to understand, that as things grow, as customer feedback comes, etc., you know what? This was something that I did not realize. Now I have to create a whole module. So what? That is
Yeah.
how life evolves. And it is so important that you remain humble and bold. Bold is important. I mean, I reached out to Harvey and said, dude, I need help. And he literally then became, okay, I'm going to invest in your company. I'm going to be your advisor. I said, wow. Not to talk about Ed Marks and everything. These are not people I knew from birth. And now we are friends from from another mother, right? We are basically brothers. And it was insane that how just reaching out, hey, I need help, and be clear. And as a matter of fact, when you send a message on LinkedIn, in capital letter, first say ASK, ask, and then give the context, because people love that. She's so right. But the problem is that, don't be shy, and then more importantly, communicate. What is your ask? So what if he just says no? There are 8 billion people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And I've heard from investors time and time again that they invest in the team. That's their investment, is in the team, not the solution. And to the point where they will take a mediocre solution, they will invest in a mediocre solution and a top-notch team versus a top-notch solution with a mediocre team, because you're investing in the people to marriage.
Yeah, love it.
So beautiful.
Putting on my investor hat, often when I ask founders things, are they in love with their baby? Are they okay with pivoting? Or, I hate to use the word, are they so arrogant that they won't see anything but one thing? And if you say anything, they won't pivot because they just can't still see it. Then I don't invest, because I'm like, they have to be humble. They have to know when to pivot, and they know. And with technology changing exponential, if they're still going logarithmic and not changing quickly with the exponential, then I know another company that is closer to that exponential curve will beat them.
Another barometer that I use is when I ask them who else is trying to solve this problem. The minute they say no one, I'm like, yeah, you're out of here. Because if you've thought about it, there are hundreds, perhaps thousands of people trying to solve the problem. And the other thing I encourage people to remember is that when they're selling to a customer, regardless of what segment it is, their biggest competitor is doing nothing, is having the customer do nothing. So not only do you have to compete against others that are doing something similar, but you're competing against the fact that these people may not want to change what they're doing. And how do you prove to them that changing is important and valuable for them?
Love it. As an aside, I created a digital twin to help me with my health, my longevity, and optimizing my workouts, optimizing every part of me. And it's working really good. And I'm thinking, you know what, this could be now a commercial product. But I mentioned it to what you just said. I can attest by it. I'm playing with it. I'm testing it. I'm putting my physician hat and looking at what the future looks like. And I'm saying, this will be the future.
Yeah, I agree. Yes. And you have a distinct advantage from where you sit on these things, which is something that, a lot of our founders do. I mean, they either come from the perspective of, I I am a physician, I am a nurse, I am a staff person that saw this problem, sonographer, whatever. And so I'm filling the gap. Or, my mother went through this or my brother went through that, and there's got to be a better way. And that's what makes this industry so compelling, is because everyone is so mission driven, because they've had their own visceral experience that they're trying to fix, so others don't have to go through it.
So
Sally, tremendously said. Just want to point her out again from a more practical purposes, that there's a slide on your pitch deck called competitor analysis. If you don't have a slide, you don't have a pitch deck. So just so in brief exact terms. Number two, the moat is still there because the market is huge. So if you are essentially creating a startup in which you think that it's going to be a faster, better, cheaper solution, so what? Say
Except
it
for
plainly
scribes.
to you.
I think we have enough scribes.
Exactly.
yes.
I mean, there is moats in there. I mean, I'm building a complete CDS as inside it. So the idea is that you have to clarify where your moat is, why your moat exists. That's another important thing to understand, that how you're different is important. AI scribe, I agree with you, it's just bullshit now. But the idea is that you are solving a problem like we do. Like, for example, my AI scribe describes your clinical documentation, but also your radiology at the same spot within the same goal. So podiatrists who need to see a foot while clinically also seeing the foot X-ray can actually bill for both. You find these ways in which you optimize the ROI, and then Sally's going to say, that makes sense. So again, and be transparent. Don't bullshit on it, on your pitch decks. Don't bullshit on your TAMs and SAMs, because so all of this is extremely important. We have 3 minutes left. Harvey?
I just want to add 2 comments from the LinkedIn post. Everybody posted. Number 1, yes, we're going to put Sally's links to her books in the comments. We'll do that after this so that you guys can get the book.
Thank you.
Second is, if you could do us a huge favor, if you could reshare this post with everyone that's watching right now, that helps let other people and know that next week, every week we come out with new episodes, and we'll have this Sally nice and edited and everything, and it'll be on several other platforms like YouTube, but this is the live. I know we only have like 3 more minutes. I do feel led to say this. I hear it all the time. There's this fear of failure. There's this fear of starting. And I would hate for anyone out there that says, oh my gosh, I had that idea, but I never took it forth. I wish. Get out of your chair, get out of your comfort zone, find the community around you that can help you build a team that you need, and move forward, because this is the place to be. Read the book. We don't know what we don't know, but now that we have this book, we know more. And so my encouragement to everybody out there is go out there and do it.
Great.
Okay, I'm moving from my chair, man. I'm just messing. You are so right. I mean, the first step is the hardest, and I love it. Sally, if you have to say one last thing, go ahead.
One very quick story that relates to the free pilots. So there's a company called InStock RX. They help with inventory across independent pharmacies. A really cool startup. But their founder read my book. Their CEO, not founder, read my book. Was in conversation with a prospective customer, and they said, okay, we'll do the pilot, but we don't want to pay for it because we don't do free pilots. Like, what? They're like, yeah, we don't do free pilots. Well, if you don't do it for free, we're going to walk away. Okay. So he stood his ground because he read the book. They came back a month later and said, okay, we'll pay. We really want it.
Wow.
And that's, again, one of the things, and I'm going to end this show today with this. A no is never a no. It is just no today.
Yes.
I'm just going to tell you, Harvey was not easy to get a hold of. I'm just going to be honest. I mean, he lives in the backyard, by the way, Aunt Sally, like 20 minutes away, and we meet in LA or we meet in London, just to FYI you. A no is never a no. So grateful, Sally, that you joined us. We'll have private conversations. We're going to make sure that whatever you bring us together, we're going to showcase, and then we're going to continue conversations and privately bring you back towards the end of the year so you can recap your year, and then we'll go from there. Thank you, guys.
Great.
And
Thank you
Helly,
so much.
Sally, don't hang up when we're done. We got to let it upload. So sorry. Go ahead.
Okay.
Anything else, Jen? Are we good?
No, we
All
are
right,
good.
everybody. Thank you for
Thank you so
joining
much,
us.
guys.
Thanks,
And
Harvey.
please repost, and thank you guys. Have a great
We
day.